Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a conversation. This is a conversation between my father and his son. And this is about today's exciting campaign that's going on, starting today, going on for the next week. A campaign to raise money for the good organization of It's Good to Know. And so tonight we're going to be talking about the purpose of the fundraiser and the mission of It's Good to Know. So, Rabbi Friedman, what is the purpose and mission of It's Good to Know?
To convince people that it's good to give.
To convince people that it is good to give.
Yeah.
Today is also your birthday, and happy birthday for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry for the awkward camera angle, but this is homemade. And your birthday falls out on the 4th day of the Hebrew month of Kislev. The Hebrew month of Kislev is a very festive month in the Hasidic calendar. It's a very festive month in Jewish calendar because of Hanukkah. But for Hasidim and for Chabadniks in particular, Kislev is an especially luminous month because it's full of all kinds of holidays commemorating special events in the history of Chabad. So my question is, as far as It's Good to Know, as far as all the work that's done from your office with you and Zalman, what is the special flavor of the education that you offer at It's Good to Know that is taken from the world of Chabad, the world of Chabad wisdom and knowledge and understanding?
I think the most practical and the most obvious is that the issues, the questions that we deal with are always, I hope, fundamental. It's never incidental, it's never detailed, it's always fundamental. Essential. Essential to Judaism, which would make it also essential to life. The big issues that need to be resolved before we apply ourselves to the details. For example, why marriage? You can talk about how to enhance a marriage, how to communicate better, how to be more tolerant and tolerable. Those are details. The fundamental question is why are you married? If we can't answer that, then no matter how much we talk about the details, it's not going to work. If you're building a castle but it's on sand, you're wasting your time. Same is true with Judaism. Why are we here? Why did God create us? If we don't know the answer to that, you're treading water. It's painful to watch.
Now, how have you taken such a theoretical idea, such a theoretical perspective, and made it interesting enough that people from such a wide perspective across the globe, across the world, across New York, find it immediately relevant in their life? And before you answer that, I want to wish a happy birthday to Mr. Elavarasi, whose name I'm for sure not pronouncing correctly. But today is also his birthday. So you both have a birthday on the same day. You wish him a happy birthday and a good year and a successful year in all your endeavors, spiritual and physical. May this be the year. So how do you take how do you take a perspective that is as intellectual as what you just described and made it interesting enough that millions of people, what do you say, you have a half a million subscribers on YouTube? How is it that a world that subscribes to cats doing tricks and people doing dances and thousands of animal videos and the most base kind of entertainment and sensationalism, and yet 500,000 are subscribed to hear you talk about things that are intellectual and theoretical, and yet they love it. Why is that?
I don't see it as intellectual, theoretical, or even spiritual. I see it as the most fundamental of all issues. And fundamental is universal. Why we dismiss these things as theoretical, like what is the purpose of life? Sounds very intellectual, right? Sounds
Yeah,
very
yes,
philosophical.
yes.
But kids are asking this question, not as philosophers. Why am I here? I didn't ask to be born. They're not philosophers. They're also not necessarily depressed. They're asking a very fundamental question. You want to tell me how to ride a bicycle? You want to tell me how to get from point A to point B on the buses? Tell me why I'm here in the first place. And if we can't answer that, then what do we know? So I don't know, again, I don't know why the ultimate questions are considered philosophical. Because we can't find an answer?
Because people who are busy, people who have a life and have to make a living, um, will find it difficult to pause everything. You know, college kids have time to wonder about this type of stuff. Kids have the luxury of thinking about this type of stuff. But 500,000 subscribers on YouTube are not children and college kids. And yet you have people thinking and giving time, serious time, and asking for serious money to support an organization that is asking and answering questions. That's all. You're not a do-it-yourself. You're not giving home repair advice. You're not teaching people how to dress better. You're not teaching people how to make a living. You're teaching people the whys of life, and it's become something so urgent and so essential. How does What is it about Chabad's teachings that accomplished that? Because before Chabad, the whole Hasidic movement was an emotional movement to take people who were feeling despondent, who were feeling broken, and to uplift them and to bring them joy and to make them smile. It was the highest kind of entertainment, if God forgive me for saying that. But then Chabad came along and said, no, 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 no. Let's take this beyond only an emotional experience and let's talk about understanding it, and swept the whole continent. How did that happen? What is it about Chabad and what is it about people that's such a good match?
It's because Chabad understands people. This question has been lurking in the back of everyone's mind. And all the emotional entertainment or all the spiritual experiences, it was all a cover up. It was a distraction from the main question.
A relief.
An escape. We want to avoid questions we can't answer. But the question doesn't go away. Chabad came along and said, why are you afraid of the question? Ask it and get a good answer. And when you get a good answer, everything changes. All your emotions and all your spiritual experiences and all your aches and pains, everything changes for the better. So, yes, Hasidus got to the point that everyone was avoiding, but cannot be avoided. You can't. So it was a daring, revolutionary way of approaching life, but inevitable. Had to happen. Like for example, with marriage, how many decades, how many generations, how many centuries has marriage repeated? People got married, their children got married, their grandchildren got married, and nobody asked, what's marriage? So you can get away with it for a while, but sooner or later, you got to answer that question. So who's interested? Not philosophers. Um, People whose lives are not very pleasant want to know why they should put up with it. People who are affluent, they've made it. Whatever their goal was in life, they achieved it. Now what? Parents whose children are asking, why'd you have me? Why did you bring me into this world? Why am I here? So almost every segment of society has its own reason for asking this question. But that's why it's universal. That's why it is fundamental. It'll pop up in different times, different ways, in different people, but everyone is going to ask this question, either out loud or subconsciously.
I want to ask you a personal question. We have a fundraiser going on now. We're trying to raise $360,000 for the work of It's Good to Know, for the work that you're doing together with Zalman, together with your whole team over there.
Listen,
Do you ever, with Nissen, do you ever, um, do you ever wish that you had a more marketable cause? Do you ever wish that you were feeding all the world's hungry children, or that you were building homeless encampments, homeless shelters? Your cause, the cause that we're raising money for today, some who are not yet involved might say, how could you, in a world full of suffering, in a world where people are suffering, raise money so that people can sit around and have conversations? It's good to know is conversation. It's studying, it's classes, it's teaching and learning, it's publishing books and audio and video. But it's basically, when you boil it down, it's conversations. And what do you say to a skeptic or to somebody who's truly wants to know why, if I'm going to donate $1,800 and I could donate it to the Red Cross for hurricane relief, or I could donate it to feed the children? Why would I give $1,800 to It's Good to Know so that people can have a conversation? How could do that? How could the urgency of that match the urgency of this? And yet you've dedicated your whole life to it. So you obviously believe in the urgency of it, and you have the experience of seeing what it does for people in their life. What is it about It's Good to Know that makes it as crucial as any kind of other relief organization?
it is more crucial because it is the motivation for all the others. People say, why was I born? Why am I here? Sooner or later, people are going to say, why should I care? So there are homeless people. So there are people who are hungry. Why is that my problem? Why should I care? And why should they continue living? If they can't make it in life, then let them quit.
Why should the people in need continue living?
Yes. And be a burden to everybody. If we don't know what the value of existence is, everything is going to fall apart. So, knowing the purpose of life motivates people to take life more seriously, to appreciate the sanctity of life, to know that giving charity is the most awesome thing you can do? Why? See, again, nobody ever asked. Oh, you have to help people. You have to. What do you mean I have to? What am I doing? What is it that I'm accomplishing by feeding someone who's going to be hungry again tomorrow? If we don't know what we're doing, everything is in danger. If your foundation is not strong, your skyscrapers are not reliable, not safe. I gotta tell you, this is somebody said to me, one of the students in yeshiva, so why don't you just become a psychologist or a therapist? Because that's really what you want to do. I said, no, I don't. I don't want to. I would rather be a therapist or a psychologist. He says, oh, come on, you do that all the time. You might as well. I said, you don't understand. Therapists and psychologists come to me for inspiration. Why would I want to be the therapist who needs what I'm doing to inspire and to give insight and to so without the knowledge of what is true and real, why would you even bother being a therapist? Like this woman who said there is more to a woman than than giving birth to babies. I said, like what? She said, like becoming a doctor. I said, you mean like a pediatrician? The pediatrician is more important than the mother who gave birth to a baby who needs a pediatrician? Without the mother who gives birth to the baby, there are no pediatricians. And there are no kindergartens, and there are no teachers, and there are no schools, and there's nothing. So if you can't answer the question of why should I have a baby, why are you becoming a doctor? If you don't know the meaning of life, why do you keep supporting it? Why do you keep fighting for it? You're going to stop eventually. But if you know, you'll do a much better job. You'll be much more motivated. And also, why why do we get so excited about remedial jobs and we don't get excited about preventing those problems in the first place?
Like, for example,
Like, for example, health maintenance instead of operations that save your life. Like,
and
for
how does that connect to what you do?
looking at the purpose of life in the first place, getting your orientation to what life is and why you're here and what it's all about. That's not damage control. That's living life fully, which is what we should all be focusing on. Sure, when something goes wrong, you need to fix it. But to make fixing more important than maintaining, it's like that. I'm sure you heard the story. Somebody asked me, feminist back in the 60s, said, you're a teacher, okay, fine. What does your wife do? I said, my wife runs a home for unwanted children. And she was really impressed. But then I admitted the truth that they were our children.
And she was not so impressed anymore.
She was not impressed anymore.
Right.
Why? Why is winning a war more exciting than not having one?
This became a bit of a theme in our community after October 7th here in Calabasas, California. that we are the unwanted children of the world, and that as one of those children, as one of your children, growing up, people used to tease us and say, "Oh, you're one of the unwanted children," and we would burst with pride because we were very proud of that joke, and we were very proud of the fact that people knew the story. And the Jewish people today are teased in this way. Oh, you're one of the unwanted children. Nobody wants you. But the joke is not. The joke has a very serious side to it, being that your parents raise you. You know, you said in your joke, you said they happen to be our children, but we asked around, nobody else wants them. And I think that a lot of that is true about God and His chosen people, and all of those who support the chosen people. That He asked around, and nobody wants them. So He is raising the unwanted children. But I also remember you saying the irony, the cruel irony of the fact that the Dead Sea Scrolls get so much attention because somebody is restoring
Fragment.
scrolls, fragments of scrolls that were discarded thousands of years ago. And what a mistake on our part to preserve the Torah in its whole for 3,000 years, and it gets far less attention than these fragmented scrolls that were discarded and discovered and now restored. Why is it more exciting to restore a scroll that somebody threw away 1,500 years ago, 14, and much more exciting than studying a scroll that has been preserved perfectly for 3,300 years?
Yeah. But also that joke. Um, if somebody else did want my children, would that be an appealing option?
To the children?
Yes. If somebody else did want them, would it be just as good as our raising them? No, it wouldn't. Can't be. And the same thing with God and the Jews. God says nobody else wants them, and that's okay because they're my children. I'll take care of them. And nobody else can take care of them the way I can.
Yeah.
And we were smart enough to know that. So we never really relied on anybody else. And that's why we outlived everybody else. The Romans, the Greeks, the Persians, the Babylonians. We never relied on them, no matter how powerful they were, for their 15 minutes of fame.
I want to take a moment and thank a donor by the moniker of Good Dag. Good Dag. I want to thank him for his donation. I want to thank everybody that donated. And without descending into flattery, I just want to say that it takes a certain amount of wisdom to donate money to It's Good to Know. It takes a certain amount of refined wisdom to understand that it's worth it to invest in learning. It's worth it to invest in people discovering ideas that change their lives. With no disrespect to any other cause, and with no disrespect, God forbid, to any other donors. It's it's easy giving to give to the most lucrative, to the most sensational causes, especially the causes that are the cause du jours, the causes of the day that everybody else is giving to. But to have the sensitivity and the deeper understanding of what you just said, that everything begins with a proper understanding. Everything begins with understanding what things are, what they mean, the purpose of life, the purpose of friendship and marriage, and understanding God, and to for people to donate. And God willing, there'll be people will donate until we reach the goal of $360,000 and then some, and then some. To each and every one of you donors, just a little shout out from the West Coast of the United States. Kudos to you for having the sensitivity to donate to something that doesn't jump out and grab you by your lapel, but with a little bit of reflection and contemplation, you can understand the importance and the urgency of the cause, as my father has just discussed. So thank you, and we salute you for your depth of perception. Um, so right now you're sitting in a studio in Brooklyn. The studio was built by funds that were donated to It's Good to Know. Your book, your many books, but one book in particular, and a book in Hebrew that literally changed lives in Israel. We've all seen the tremendous feedback from that book. The book in Hebrew is called I Didn't Ask to Be Born." The book was recently translated into Spanish, and I believe an English translation is on the way. And other such deliveries of this wisdom, and all of it supported by donors. So, if you could give us a story or two, obviously without names, of ways that people's lives, individual, real lives, down to earth, that people's lives have changed, turned around, went from darkness to light, from difficulty to inspired, because of the donations of people that support. It's good to know.
Well, there are literally hundreds of couples that I know of who, because of what they read about intimacy and male female dynamic in either the Hebrew book or the English book, their marriages went from dismal to wonderful. Without therapy, without they just got the idea and ran with it. Again, because it gets to the fundamentals. What is intimacy? What is it not? What preserves intimacy? What kills intimacy?
So this means that you have a marriage that was suffering, and it was not because of anything tangible. It was suffering from a deficiency of understanding.
Right. So when a person comes and says, there is everything is wrong in my marriage, everything. We don't get along, we don't agree on anything, we can't do anything, nothing ever happens. I know. You don't have 20 problems. You're lacking a foundation. So every wind that blows knocks you over. But it's not because there are so many winds. It's because you're so easily knocked over. Anytime a person says, everything is wrong with my marriage, everything is wrong with my wife, everything is wrong with my husband, and then they give me the whole list of things, and then they say, so should we get divorced? No, maybe you should try getting married because you were never married. You have no idea what marriage is. You don't know what you're doing. When they realize what marriage is, it's a match made in heaven. They get a new respect for each other. They get a new appreciation of the blessing of having a marriage, of being married. Everything changes, and all of a sudden, all those details, all those complaints disappear. Otherwise, you'd have to work on each one of them. It'll take you 10 years, and who knows what the end is going to be after that. But when you get it right, come on, what could be more necessary than getting it right? Raising children. What do we do to raise children better? So, you know what it means to raise children? No, you have no idea. But you want to make sure he does this, or he does that, or she does this, or she does it. You're not raising them, you're fighting with them. Can you tell me what it means to raise a child? I know what it means to raise crops. How do you raise a child? You water them? If you don't know what you're doing, why are you surprised that you have problems? And why do you think that those problems are what needs to be fixed? Like in Hebrew, people say, We're lacking in shalom bayis. We don't have a peaceful home. You don't have a home. There is no house, but you want to have peace in the house. And the same thing is true politically. The same thing is true in medicine. The same thing is true in science. We're so hung up on the details, we forget what we're doing in the first place. So, those who are a little ahead of the curve realize there's no end to the details, and you patch up one of them and the other one springs a leak, and that getting it right, understanding what it is so much more effective and so much more productive. And nobody gets hurt. You don't have to tear anybody apart. You don't have to label anybody with this kind of problem and that kind of problem. You're suffering from ADHD, you're suffering from bipolar, you're suffering from personality disorder, you're suffering from a lack of wisdom. And who's not? Given a little bit of wisdom, all that stuff can go away. Without getting too dramatic, if you don't know what you're doing, don't be surprised if you suddenly become confused about your gender. It's inevitable. If you don't know what's going on, nothing is going to work, including something as basic as gender.
Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to join this campaign to raise the funds necessary to keep this education going, the education of real people with real lives, with the opportunity to solve real problems and give people some real relief. And people who find relief, people who discover purpose and happiness and the kind of weightlessness that comes along with discovering a purpose and a reason to wake up in the morning, such people accomplish amazing things in their lives for others. So it's a very great domino effect that out of a little apartment in Brooklyn, a tremendous salvation is going out to the world. A solution grows in Brooklyn, a solution to many, many of the world's problems, problems that one might not instinctively directly correlate to the kinds of things that are being discussed here, but yet sometimes surprisingly, sometimes not surprisingly, a different way of looking at life resolves so many serious, serious issues and opens up a person's eyes and mind to doing good things for other people.
I'm going to give an interesting observation from experience. If you divide the world into religious and secular, religious people who listen to the talks and the conversations and the books, they say, wow, you're allowed to ask those questions? The secular people say, wow, there are answers to those questions? So, so the religious world is saying, oh, you can't ask. You can't ask. Don't go there. Don't go there. You can't ask. The secular people are saying, I've asked. There are no answers. They're both miserable.
But not for long, thanks to It's Good to Know.
They're good questions. They should be asked, and the answers are even better.
That is truly rare. Answers that are better than questions, that is truly rare. We always say questions keep you up at night, answers put you to sleep. But maybe there are people that need some help sleeping. It's enough lost sleep. It's enough with the anxiety. All right. Well, thank you very much. I thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for giving and supporting and then spreading the word and sharing it with your friends. And Ta, thank you for what you're doing. I wish you a lot of success in this campaign. I wish all of us a lot of success in the campaign, everybody at the office and everybody, all the teams and all the donors and everybody that's on board in the next week, God willing. We'll have a successful campaign and prepare for another successful year, calendar year at It Is Good to Know.
If it's true that having good children says something about the father or mother,
Mm-hmm.
then I must be onto something.
You know what they say, you're either onto something or you're on something. All right, thank you for that compliment. Appreciate that. You're definitely onto something, and we're all very proud of you. Hatzlacha Rabba, a lot of success with the campaign. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Good night.